Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. In today's video we're going to make a start on this picture from Hanna Karlzon's book. So this is from Tales from the Forest Kingdom. So I asked you guys on YouTube which picture that you wanted to do and let you choose between four, and this was the one that got the most votes, so we're going to start this one today. And I also asked you guys which pencils you wanted me to use, and the brutfuner was the winner. So these are the pencils that we're going to be using today. So it's the brutfuner 120 set, and I've got the square pencils. So just so that you know what I'm using. So I think we should zoom you in and get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is make a start on the contents of the actual glass bottles. So for these little mushrooms, I'm going to go ahead and do them like the standard red and white mushrooms that you get. So I've picked out colour number 008, which is the darkest red that I can see. And I'm going to start by adding this where I want them to be darker. So I'm going to do the light coming from this direction downwards. So I'm going to darken up the right hand sides of these. So what I'm going to do is just put more pressure on the right hand side and then lift the pressure as you come over towards the left hand side. So we're still going to be colouring in the left hand side, but not as much colour on the paper. So we want the main pigment area to be at the bottom and towards the right hand side. So as you can see there, that bit's a little bit darker than the top section. So that's what I'm going to do for all of these. Next, taking 032, which is our white pencil, I'm going to go ahead and go over where we left the lighter pressure just to blend this together and get rid of the little bit of texture that's left on the paper. So I'll go ahead and do the same for all of these little mushrooms. Next, going in with 018, this is like a dark brown reddy colour. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the underneath of the mushrooms. So anywhere where we've got these little lips here, I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. Next, taking 093, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the stalks for the mushrooms. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this in completely. And then I'll go back and add a little bit of shadow to these afterwards. Next, taking 119, I'm going to add the shadow to the stems. So I'm going to shade underneath where they meet the top of the mushroom, because the top of the mushroom would cast a bit of a shadow down onto the stem. And I'll also darken up the bottom section where it joins to this rock. And I'll do the same for all of these. Next, going in with 026, I'm going to make a start on the rocks in the bottom here. So I'm just going to use this colour as our base colour, and I'm going to go ahead and put this all over the rocks, just using light pressure. Then using 027, which is slightly darker, I'm going to start to add some shade to these rocks. So the first thing I'm going to do is darken up this little patch here, because this is pushed behind the other rocks. And then follow this along this bottom edge here, because this rock in front would cast a bit of a shadow down there. And then I'm just going to darken up the right hand side and just leave the lighter patch there on the top. So for this one, I'm going to darken up the right hand side again, and then lift the pressure as you come towards the lighter section. We'll do the same for this one. Add a little bit of shadow on this tiny one. And the same for this one. So we're going to darken up the right hand side and then lift the pressure as you come over. This one I'm going to darken up all along the bottom, and then again up the right hand side and just lift the pressure. We'll add a little bit to this little tiny one. Then I'm going to go back in with 026 and go ahead and blend this out so that we don't get any harsh lines. So I'll just take it over where we've added the darker colour and just sort of blend the two together. And these pencils are really soft, so they do go over and show up on the darker colours as well. So next I'm going to move on to this bit of cork here, and I'm going to use 020 to do a base coat on this. So I want to try and make it look like the kind of corks that you'd get in wine bottles. So I'm just going to use light pressure and add this colour down first. Then taking 023, which is quite a dark brown, I'm going to start to add some shading. So I'm going to darken up underneath this line here just to give this a little bit of a shadow, and underneath her toes. And then we'll darken up the edges on both sides. And I'm going to darken up the very bottom bit where it meets the glass. And then again up here, darken up behind her toes and a little bit on this side. Then I'm going to go back in with 020 and go ahead and fill that in with a bit more pressure and add a little bit more colour to this. Just go back in with 023 and just fill in this little bit here that I've missed, and just darken this up underneath her toes as well, because I want that to be quite dark. Okay, and that's everything filled in that bottle. So I think we'll move on to this bigger bottle now. We'll make a start on the mushrooms in here. Now I want to do these a different colour, so I think we're going to do these purple. So the first colour we're going to go in with is 112. Now this is quite a really light purpley colour. So we're going to go ahead and do a base coat on these mushrooms, and I'm going to avoid the dots on them. Next, taking 099, we're going to add some shade to our mushrooms. So I'm going to do the same shading from the right hand side again. So for this one under here, I'm going to darken up because this would be in shadow from the mushroom above. So just use normal pressure and fill this in. And I'm going to take this all the way along here. We'll give some shadow here from this leaf. And then we'll add a bit of shade here, up the right hand side. Add a little bit on the top. And then I'm just going to lift the pressure to blend this out. So anywhere we've put the darker purple, just lift the pressure and add a little bit more colour to blend it out nicely. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and darken up the right hand side again. And we'll take it to about halfway across the mushroom as well. And now I'm just going to lift the pressure to blend this out. I'm just going to go back in with 112 and I'm just going to add a little bit more colour to this. But I'm not using hard pressure because I don't want too much colour. I just want to add a little bit more of a purple tone. Then I'm going to go back in with 032, our white pencil, and I'm going to go over and blend this all together with the white pencil so it should stay really nice and light purple, and it will just blend everything together nicely for us. So you just want to use normal pressure for this and just go ahead and go over anywhere that looks a little bit textured. If you can still see the texture of the paper, then you need to go over it with the white. Then I'm just going to go back in with 112. So we've got a little bit of a harsh blend line here, just in this little circle. So I'm just going to use light pressure and just add a little bit more of the lighter colour to this to try and get rid of that line, because we don't want it to be a visible line. Okay, that looks lots better. So next, going in with 015, which is a really dark purple colour, we're going to go ahead and fill in underneath of these mushrooms so that the underneath is the darkest part. I'm just going to use normal pressure and fill this in. So next for the stems, I'm going to go in with 072, which is like a greeny grey almost. And I'm going to go ahead and do a base coat on the stems. Then taking 060, which is a darker greeny grey colour, we're going to go ahead and add some shade to these. So again, I'm going to shade here where it meets the top of the mushroom and just darken that patch up. Do the same for this one. Then we'll add some shadow underneath where it joins to this little almost like leaf design. Add some shade in there. Go ahead and shade the bottom. And then I'm going to bring this up the right hand side so that we've just got a little patch of the lighter colour left there. Down here I'm going to fill this in, and then we'll just add a shadow along that line as well, so we've just got a little patch of light left on that one. Next, taking 065, which is like a pinky grey tone, we're going to do a base coat on the stones so that they will be slightly different to the stones that we've got in the other glass bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and do a base coat on these, and as you can see, it is like a grey pinky colour. It's a very unique colour. Then take in 067, which is the same sort of thing again. It's like a grey pinky colour, but a bit darker than the last shade that we used. I'm going to go ahead and add some shade to these, and again I'm going to focus it on the right side of the rocks. This one I'm going to give a bit of shadow all the way along this edge where it would be behind this rock, and then down the right hand side. This one in the back I'm going to darken up completely, and a little bit of shadow here, and then this one we'll add some shadow along the bottom edge and the right hand side, and again just lift the pressure as you come away. And then I'm going to go back in with the white pencil and again just go over the highlighted areas that we left the lighter colour on, because I didn't want to make it too dark, so I'm just going to mix it all together with the white. Next, going in with 041, which is quite like a dark bluey green, I'm going to fill in these little tiny bits of growth at the bottom, and I'm just going to fill these in completely. Then going in with 057, which is like a really light green colour, I'm going to make a start on these ones here. So what I want to do is focus this on the leaf part and not the stem, because I'm going to do the stem a little bit darker. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a base coat on this so we can see how it's looking, and then pick what colour we want to use for our stem. Okay, so I've picked 083 to go ahead and use for our stem. So again, I'm going to do light pressure and put this colour down and see how it's looking together before I burnish it all into the paper. Okay, I'm quite liking that, so I'm going to darken this up. And we'll go back in with 057 and darken up the leaves as well. And then I'm going to go back in with 083 and just add a little bit more detail to these leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and add like a little line here where she's added the line in, and just connect it to the bottom edge. I'll do the same on this side. So I'm just running it along the edge, and then we'll add one on this side as well, just to give the leaves a little bit more texture because there's not a lot going on with them. Next, taking 044, I'm going to make a start on these ones here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a base coat like I do. Then going in with 075, which is a little bit darker, we're going to start to add some shade. So I'm going to shade under here completely because this would all be a little bit darker down there. We'll add some shade where it meets this mushroom. And I don't think this is going to be dark enough, so I'm going to swap. I think we'll go for 77. Okay, so this is 77, so let's go over this again and see if this is any darker. It looks a bit darker, yeah. Okay, so that's going to give us a bit of a better shadow. So for this, I'm going to follow this along and fill in the right-hand side of the leaf. And then I'll follow it up the stem on the right hand side as well and take it up the right hand side of this leaf. And then again, we'll work our way up the stem and fill in the right hand side of this one. For these ones, I'm going to fill in this side. And for this one, I'll fill in the left-hand side as well. And just take it down the very edge of the stem. Do the same for this one. And then this one we need to darken up as well. I'm just going to take it over the top of the mushroom. Then going back in with 044, I'm just going to go right up to these edges and make sure I've got the colour right up to the edge. Okay, and now we've got these ones and they look the same as these leaves, so I think I'm going to do them the same. So I'll go in with 083 first and go ahead and fill in all the stems for them. So it looks like it starts from here, so I'll just fill this bit in here with normal pressure and then just work my way up. Then going back in with 0.57, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the leaves on here. So I'll just fill them in using normal pressure. Then go back in with 0.83. I'm going to do the same as what we did for these ones. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow into the leaves. So we'll start with this big one, and I'll just drag this colour down the very edge and up to this line that Hannah's already drawn in. We'll just take it all the way down to the tip. And it just gives it a little bit more texture rather than just all being one colour. And then we've got a line here as well, so we'll go ahead and darken up this side. So this one's going to be along this edge here, and I'm just going to carry it on a little bit further up as well. This one we've got over here. And this one here. And you can put as much or as little as you want, really. It's all what your personal preference is. So going in with 0.38, which is a real pale blue, I'm going to make a start by doing a base coat on these mushrooms up here, because I want these ones to be a blue colour so that they're all different. So I'm just going to use light pressure and go ahead and fill these in. Then going in with 0.39, I'm going to go ahead and add some shade. So I'm going to darken up the right hand side. Then going back in with 0.38, I'm just going to go over the blend line so it's not as harsh. And then I'm just going to use light pressure, but just add a little bit more blue over to this side. Make sure we haven't missed any patches. Then going back in with 0.32, which is our white pencil, I'm going to go ahead and go over where we've left the lightest shade of blue and just blend this all together nicely. Then going back in with 0.39, I'm going to fill in the underneaths of the mushroom, so that's the darkest colour. Then taking 0.33, which is a darker colour, I'm just going to go ahead and go right underneath the line where the mushroom is, just here, just to darken up this very top section, so it looks like it's casting a bit of a shadow down. Then for this one, I'm going to make the stalks match. So I'm going to go back in with 0.38, which is our lightest blue, and go ahead and do a base coat on these stalks. Then going in with 0.37, which is slightly lighter than our other darker shade, I'm going to add some shadow to these. So I'm going to start by adding some shade underneath the mushrooms here. Then for this one, I'm going to drag the shade down the right hand side and darken up the right hand side of this stalk. We'll add a little bit of extra shade here from this leaf, and we'll go ahead and darken this section up completely because it's behind both of the leaves. And we'll do the same for this bottom section. We'll just darken this all up. So next, going in with 0.41, which is like a dark greeny bluey colour, I'm going to make a start on these leaves. So I think we'll go ahead with these little ones first. And because this is the lighter colour, I'm going to go ahead and do a base on the leaves themselves. Then taking 0.30, which is a really dark greeny bluey colour, I'm going to go ahead and fill in this middle section here. Oh, it's actually quite a dark green colour. It looked a little bit bluey. And then what I'm going to do is take this colour around where the sort of stem of the leaf is, and I'm just going to start to darken it up and then lift the pressure as we come out into this lighter colour, just to give the leaf a little bit more depth. Then I'm going to go back in with 041 and go ahead and darken up the lighter area that we've left. Okay, next going in with 81, 081, I'm going to make a start on this one. So I'm going to make it quite similar to this one that we did. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to do a base coat because this is going to be our lighter shade. Then using 046, which is quite a dark colour, we're going to add some shade to this. So I'm going to start by darkening up down here where this leaf would cast a bit of a shadow, and then just lift the pressure to blend that out. And because we've done the light coming from this way, I'm going to add a bit of shade here from this leaf again. We'll go ahead and darken up this bottom section of this leaf. And the same for this one. Then going back in with 081, I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. Okay, and for the rocks at the bottom, I'm going to go in with 026, which is just a nice grey colour. And I'm going to go ahead and fill these in. Then going in with 067, we're going to add some shade into these. So this one here, I'm going to add some down this edge, because that would be in shade from this rock. We'll add some along here. So I'm just using normal pressure and then just lifting the pressure as you come away. Then I'm going to go back in with 026 and go ahead and blend this all together. Okay guys, so that's how it's looking so far. So next we're going to start on this fairy here. So I think we should get started. So going in with 013, which is like a pale peachy creamy colour, we're going to make a start on her skin. So I'm going to go ahead and start with her hands. So I'm just going to do a light coat of this on this top edge here where the light would be catching. And we'll do the same for this one. And then for her face, because she's actually got her face behind the light, so the light's not going to be catching on her face anywhere really, but we'll give her a little bit of a highlight anyway. So we'll just highlight the front part of her face. a little bit along her chin. And we'll do some here by her neck. Next, going in with 012, which is like a pinky colour, we're going to go ahead and add some blush. So I'm just using really light pressure with this colour and just adding a little bit of a blush tone into her face. And then I'm just going to use this colour to go over her lips as well. Then I'm going to go back in with 013 and just go over that just to dull it out slightly because I don't want it to be too bright. Next, taking 071, I'm going to add in the darker skin tone. So again, I'll start with the hands and I'm going to go ahead and fill in this side, which would be a little bit darker. We'll do the same for this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of her skin that's all sort of here in between her hair. And I'm going to add some of this to her ear, but I'm just going to take it on the bottom section and then we can add some highlight on the top section. Go ahead and add some shade under her chin and along her hairline. I'm going to go back in with 013 and fill in the top part of her ear. Then taking 069, which is a nice cream colour, I'm going to go ahead and fill in around her eye and just blend her skin together. So I'm going to take it over the blush and over all the other colours that we've done. Just use it on the front part of her neck here and on the top section of her ear. And then again, I'm going to use this on the top section of her hands. Just zoom you in a little bit more so that you can see that a little bit better because it's quite small. I'll go back in with 071, just darken up this little bit here behind her ear. Okay, so that's her face done. So I think we'll do the legs next. So again, I'm going to go in with 013, which is our lighter shade, and I'm going to use this on this side where the light would be catching the backs of her legs. So anywhere where you think the light would be catching, we're going to add a bit of this colour. This leg I think would be all in shade, so it's going to be a little bit darker. So we'll go in with 071, which is a little bit darker. We'll go right up to this colour that we've just done. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of her leg with this. And then we'll fill in this leg with the darker colour as well. I'm only using light pressure for this as well, by the way, guys. So I think I'm going to use normal pressure now and really darken up this leg. And then I'm going to darken up her toes as well because they would be a bit darker. And just the very inside edge of this leg. And we'll add a little bit of shade here from her dress. I'm going to go back in with 013 and I'm going to go over the skin tone to blend it all together. And then 069 over the very lightest parts. Okay, and I think this leg needs a bit more shadow, so I'm going to go in with 067, which is like a pinky grey, and using very light pressure, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra shade here, right up against this other leg, where it would be casting a little bit of a shadow down. And then again, just from the skirt, I think we'll go ahead and darken up this shadow from the skirt as well with this grey colour. And we'll add a little bit of a shade underneath her bangle. Okay, I think that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to use the same colour to add a little bit of shade to her hand. So I'm just going to go right up on this edge, just add a little bit of this there. And the same for this one, just a little bit here by the glass. And then I'm just going to add some extra shade onto her neck with this colour as well. Put a little bit on her ear, and then I'm just going to do a little bit around her face. So that's how her skin's looking at the minute. So next, going in with 003, I'm going to make a start on her little bracelet. So I thought we'd make it gold. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this colour onto there as our base. Then taking 093, which is a bit more of a browny colour, we're going to add the shadow in. So I'm going to darken up this side because this is the side away from the light. And then just lift the pressure as you come round, so it's not as dark in the middle. And then I'm going to leave that bit there, the lightest colour. So next, taking 038, I'm going to make a start by filling in the dots on her clothes. So for this, I'm just going to use normal pressure and just fill these in completely. Next, taking 011, which is a really pale pink colour, I'm going to go ahead and make a start on the actual clothing. So what I want to do is do a base coat of this light pink colour all over so that we can see how it's looking. And then we'll add in some shade and some texture to the fabric afterwards. So I'm just going to use light pressure and go ahead and fill in her whole outfit. Then taking 111, which is a bit of a darker pink, I'm going to use light pressure again, but I'm going to start to add some shade to this. So the first place that I'm going to shade is here underneath her belt, because this would be a little bit darker. So just in between her little bag and her rope. Now we'll add the shade all the way down the bag. So we'll just fill in that section, add a little bit of shade underneath. So we'll do the same here, we'll shade all the way down this edge. And then we'll carry on along where her belt sits. Then we're going to follow this line down, darken that up, and we'll do the same here. Draw in the crease a little bit darker. I'm just going to take that to about halfway round that side. So we'll do the same here. I'm going to do both sides of this one and take this right over to the edge, because the right side is going to be darker. So I'm going to add some shade along this edge here and just lift the pressure as you come away. I'm going to do some lighter pressure around this crease and at the side of this crease. So for this bottom piece, all of this would be in shadow from the top section. So I'm going to go ahead and darken up all of this top section here to make it look like it is underneath. And I'm going to darken up the crease lines again. Okay, so now moving on to this top section, again, I'm going to darken up right up against her little belt. Take that all the way along. Here I'm going to exaggerate this crease, and the same here. We'll add some shadow up the right hand side again. And then we'll shade underneath her arm where her arm would be casting a bit of a shadow down. And then again, just lift the pressure to blend that out. This arm here would be in a lot more shadow, so we're going to darken up right underneath where the other arm meets it. And then lift the pressure as you come away. I'm going to darken up this crease line here. We'll add some shade down here. And we'll darken up the creases. And I'm going to add some shade here to this crease. Just going to take this one up a little bit further. I'm going to go back in with 0.38 and I'm just going to fill in these little bands on the arms because I want these to be blue so they match the dots. So just fill them in completely. Then going back in with our white pencil, we're going to go ahead and start blending this out. So I'm going to just take it over the shadow colour that we've done and bring it into the lighter pink and just blend everything together nicely. Okay, so next for her belt and her little bag, we're going to go in with 0.38, which was the blue colour that we used for the dots. And I'm going to do a base coat on this. So this side is obviously going to be lighter. And then the right side will darken up. But I'm just going to go in with the lightest colour first and add this all over. Then we'll go in with 0.37, which is a little bit darker. And we'll start to add the shade. So for this bag here, I'm going to darken up the right hand side and the bottom edge. Just leave the lighter colour on the left. Add a little bit of shade onto these little details here. We'll shade the right hand side of that. And then this one here would be darker because it's further back. So we'll fill that one in. Add a little bit of shade here from this little strap and a little bit of shade here, and then we'll add a little bit of shade over this edge. Go back in with 0.38 and just fill this in and blend everything together. So next I'm going to go in with 0.93 and I'm going to go ahead and fill in the center of these flowers. And I'm going to go in with 0.11 again and do a base coat on the flowers because I wanted to try and make these match the dress. Then we'll go back in with 111 and add some shade to these. So the first thing I'm going to do is just darken up where the petals are turned over. And then I think we're going to darken up the edges and just leave the lighter colour in the centre. So I'm just doing like a little up and down motion so that we don't get any harsh lines. Next, going in with 0.20, we're going to make a start on her hair. So this is going to be the lightest colour brown that we use. So again, I'm going to go ahead and do a base coat and fill all of her hair in with this colour. Then taking 0.19, which is a little bit of a darker brown, we're going to add the shade into her hair. So the first thing that I'm going to do is sharpen my pencil. It's better, nice sharp point. Okay, so now we're going to add some shade to her hair. So I'm going to darken up these sections here where the flowers are casting a bit of a shadow onto her hair. And then we'll darken up this top section here where this petal is casting a shadow onto her hair. We'll darken up the very top edges of these little bits of hair. And then under this flower here, we'd have some shade. And up here, I'm just darkening up the very top edge. And then we'll darken up in here where the hair comes out of the flower. Then for this bit here, I'm just going to add a little bit of shade to the right hand side. Same for this, I'm going to follow the shade along the right hand side. And for this top piece. So now going back in with 0.20, I'm just going to go over the blend lines and make sure that I've got the very tips of the hair coloured. Okay guys, so I'm going to leave this picture here for now, and we will come back next time and finish this off. We'll get the background and her little wings done. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing to my channel. That would be great. And I'll see you guys in the next video.